Welcome to 21st Sports Recap and Reaction for the Cleveland Browns at the St. Louis Rams in their Week 7 matchup, played October 25th, 2015. We're going to go over the scores and the stats and give our breakdown and analysis. So starting off in the first quarter, just 3 minutes in, and Rodney McLeod runs back a fumble 20 yards for the touchdown. Zerline adds the extra point, and it was 7-0 Rams over the Browns. Zerline would add a 39-yard field goal about midway through the first quarter, and it was 10-0 Rams over the Browns. That was the score after one quarter of play. Then in the second quarter, Travis Coons put the Browns' first points on the scoreboard with a 25-yard field goal, and it was a 7-point game with the Rams still in the lead at 10-3. That was just a minute into the second quarter and would be the only score in the second quarter. So it was 10-3 at halftime. Then in the third quarter, just about 3 minutes in, a little over 3 minutes in, Coons would hit his second field goal of the game, a 44-yarder this time, to make it a 4-point game with the score St. Louis 10, Cleveland 6. Then with a little over 2 minutes still left in the third, Todd Gurley gets a touchdown. It was a 1-yard touchdown. It had been set up by a big pass play, and now it was 17-6 after the extra point by Zerline as the Rams extended their lead to 11 as Gurley gets in the end zone, and he would score again in the fourth quarter with a little over 8 minutes left in this game on a 16-yard touchdown run, and it was 24-6 after the extra point by Zerline, and the Rams would hold on to win this one in very impressive fashion as they even up their record to 3-3 on the season, 2-1 at home. The Browns fall to 2-5. They're 1-3 on the road. So the Rams very dominant on defense. They had 4 sacks and 4 fumble recoveries for the Rams, including the first points of the game with that defensive touchdown as they dominated the Browns on defense, as they did not allow the Browns to score any offensive touchdowns, any touchdowns at all for that matter. It's only let up 6 points off of 2 field goals, and Gurley had a big day on the ground. Of course, he knew that going in, as the Browns have the worst run defense in the league. But in this game, Nick Foles, 15-23, just 163 yards passing. And for McCown, he was 26-32 with 270 yards passing. He would leave the game due to injury, and Manziel would come in 4 for 5 for 27 yards. McCown also had 4 carries for 21 yards. The Browns' leading rusher was Turbin, the former Seahawk, with 5 carries for 30 yards. For the Rams, Todd Gurley, the rookie running back out of Georgia, 19 carries for 128 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had 4 receptions for 35 yards in this game, as well as he had 153 total yards in the game. The leading receiver in this game was the tight end from Cleveland, Gary Barnidge, with 6 receptions for 101 yards. And Duke Johnson actually had 7 receptions for 73 yards to go along with his 17 yards rushing off of 6 carries, as he had 90 total yards in the game. The leading receiver for St. Louis, Tavon Austin, he was injured heading into the game, but he had 4 receptions for 43 yards. Kenny Britt, 1 reception for 41 yards. And then we look at the kickers for these two teams. Greg Zerline, 1 for 3 on the field goals, 3 for 3 on the extra points. Travis Coons, 2 for 2 on the field goals. No extra points attempted, as they did not get into the end zone in this game. And on defense, Barron with 10 tackles for St. Louis. And Jenkins and McDonald each had 1 forced fumble. Hayes had 2 sacks and 2 forced fumbles. And Westbrook and Donald each had a sack as well. And for Cleveland, Whitner had a forced fumble, Bryant had a sack, and Starks had a sack. Let me look at the team stats. 19 first downs for the Browns, 16 first downs for the Rams. On third down, neither team really getting it done on third downs, since it was all about the defense for St. Louis that really got them the W in this one. But on third downs, 3 for 12 for Cleveland, 25% conversion rate. They went for it once on fourth down, did not convert. The Rams just 1 for 9, only 11% conversion rate, as they were one of 2 teams that had won their game with only 1 third down conversion. is going against the grain. It doesn't happen too often, and here we saw it twice on this Sunday. But total net yards 364 for Cleveland, 308 for St. Louis. On the ground, net rushing 158 for the Rams, 82 for the Browns. Through the air, the Browns netted 282 yards, and they allowed 4 sacks for a total loss of 15 yards. Also, it's going against McCown, and then 150 yards netted through the air for St. Louis, as Foles was sacked twice for a total of 13 yards lost. And on the fumbles, the Browns 4 fumbles and 1 fumble for St. Louis. And the penalties, lots of penalties in this game. 20 penalties between the two teams. 11 penalties against the Browns for 98 penalty yards. 9 penalties against the Rams for 75 yards. And in the red zone, the Browns 0 for 1. They did not score a touchdown in this game, and they did not score a red zone touchdown, obviously. And for the Rams, 2 for 3 in the red zone, 66%. The Browns did have the ball more, 35 minutes and 33 seconds versus 24 minutes and 27 seconds for St. Louis. It was all about the defense of the Rams. They forced those turnovers. They were bringing the pressure. They even got McCown out the game, but they were getting up in his face all day long. So they're forcing the turnovers. They forced him to fumble twice. McCown with the 2 fumbles. Benjamin and Gabriel each had a fumble as well. And the sacks, getting up in his face, as I said, bringing the pressure. And that's what the Rams do, is they have quite the pass rush. They have a really good defense, especially when matched up against the Cleveland Browns. And Todd Gurley with a huge day on the ground. As you knew he would, the Browns always let up big running performances week in, week out. If you're playing any kind of fantasy, you just look for who are the Browns playing and then take their opponent's running back, and you'll have a good week in fantasy 9 times out of 10, as I'm apt to say. But the Rams evening up their record at 3-3 at home, getting the victory. It's kind of a game that they have to win. They can't afford to lose these types of games. And the Browns continue to be the Browns. They show some flashes at moments, but they really could not get anything going, especially on the ground. And, McCown was moving the ball somewhat, but really, the receivers not really getting much done, as it was all about. The tight end Barnridge, who continues to have a great year, a breakout year for Barnridge, as he's one of the lone high spots for the Cleveland Browns. The Rams, though, with that running game and with that defense, they're going to win some games, especially against teams like Cleveland, and they're also going to be competitive against tougher teams. And the Browns actually, as bad as they are against the run, they got a decent pass defense. They were able to shut down Foles. Of course, not a lot of passes. He only threw the ball 23 times in the game. But the Rams doing what they have to win and relying on that defense. It is a really good defense, and they get the win. They're 500 now. So let me know what you think about this game and about the Rams and their chances in a tough NFC West. But they are in the mix of things. They still are more than alive in the playoff picture, fighting for a wild card spot. And potentially, you never know what could happen. With they're not that far out of it. Just a game back of Arizona. We'll see what happens with them on Monday night, though. But let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It's greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and had a great weekend and enjoyed all the sports.